it's Christinablackfeather here, and I'm going to do my highly requested video, and seriously, this actually was requested, unlike our girl's commentary that she always says that. This one actually was. People have been questioning me about the pickled asparagus, so today I have 2 jars ready. I am going to show you what supplies I use, and I forgot to get the finished jar out of the fridge. Please ignore the messy house here. Well, it's not that bad. So, what we have... Now this one, I can't set it there, that burner's still hot. This one is my older stock that I had made. I ate the pickles out of this jar. I just put new pickles in here and a little bit more apple cider vinegar because I want to use it up. And I do that with regular pickles too. I will go and use the juice after I've done pickles, you know, store-bought ones. After I eat them up, I'll throw fresh cucumbers and onions in there and water to fill it. Let it sit in the fridge for 3 days, and I start chowing on it. And these are, when you get done with this recipe, these are ready to eat after 3 days in the fridge. They're best at 3 weeks, but for me that doesn't last that long. What you're doing is a refrigerator pickle, so these can't be stored on the counter. I don't know a thing about canning, so please don't quote me on that. And as far as how to can it, I have no clue. I will post the link to the recipe I used below. I didn't have all the materials in the recipe, so on that jar I had made substitutions and they worked wonderful. So I'm going to show you my substitutions that I make. Of course, I had already blanched this asparagus, and what that is getting water to a rolling boil. Get this in there for 15 seconds, take it out and get it in an ice bath right away. It also works just to run cold water over it because I don't have any ice. Some of the stuff they say is to have 4 cloves of garlic per jar. I forgot to buy a new thing of garlic, but I had like 6 cloves. I cut them up. That jar, I didn't cut them up. I don't know how the garlic is going to pickle. I want to eat that too, but I probably should have cut it up. It's 1 whole lemon between the 2 jars. I throw onion in there. The recipe doesn't call for it. This is a big yellow onion, and just cutting it half per jar. The jars were just sanitized in the dishwasher. It says a couple grape leaves per jar. Well, our grape leaves are a little small yet, so I picked about 4 or 5 of them. I'm just going to put multiple in. And the reason for the grape leaves is because the tannins will help keep everything crisp. I did not have grape leaves to put in that one. The asparagus still stayed crisp. Wasn't a problem. They also say to add, what was it in here? Whole mustard seeds. I can't find mine. I know I have them somewhere. So I substituted pickling spice. And 1 tablespoon of pickling spice per jar. This works really well. I've never had problems with McCormick. The flavors are a little strong. It blends super well with the asparagus. You're going to want a pint of water per jar. It looks like I mismeasured. This is from our little water cooler thing, so that's why I have that separated. They say any non-iodized salt. I like to use the pink sea salt for the flavor. The health benefits, the only real health benefit it has is a little bit of the extra mineral content, and the reason it's pink is because of the iron in it, which is good for somebody who's anemic, just like cooking in a cast iron pan. But other than flavor, you know, all these magical woo properties about it are not a big thing. I have what's left of my apple cider vinegar. I don't even care if the mother gets in there. I don't mind. So 2 different kinds. They both work just fine. And in the future, we'll be using homemade apple cider vinegar because we have lots of it downstairs, steeping and getting ready for life. And some white sugar. So that's about it. I'm going to set this camera up on a rack and we will get started. Okay, I just thought I would talk about the asparagus for a moment. This piece is unblanched. Once you have the ends, I'm saving these to make asparagus soup out of, which the recipe will be on the same site that this recipe is. And I'm going to give it a try. I have probably about 3 pounds of ends here, and it just requires milk. It doesn't require heavy cream or anything. To do your asparagus, just break it. There's your tender end. There's your hard end, and the hard end you're going to be able to use in the soups. Tender end, of course. I love asparagus, what can I say? So, pardon me. I'm doing a mukbang! Oh my gosh! Farmer's market. Good stuff. Okay, next thing I've got is this has to come to a boil and incorporate the salt and the sugar and the vinegar. So there's the 2 pints of water, there's a half a cup of vinegar in here, because remember I'm doing this for 2 separate quart jars. There is 3 tablespoons of the salt in here, and there's 2 tablespoons of sugar. So I have to kind of bring that to a boil, and I might not even do that. I'll just do this till it dissolves, because then this has to cool on top of it. So I don't want this to too much of a rolling boil or anything, because then we have to sit and wait longer. Not that I'm not editing this, because I am. So in the meantime, what you're going to do while you've got that boiling is you're going to load your jars with stuff. And I think what I'm going to do to make this easier on myself this time is, instead of putting the liquid in because I forgot what I was doing, I'm going to put the dry stuff in first. So what you want to do is get some of your grape leaves at the bottom of the jar. And grape leaves are edible, so if you really want to eat these later, feel free. Easiest step here, and they say, you know, alternate your spears and everything of asparagus. I picked really tiny spears because of the tenderness. Alternating them is kind of silly, and especially since they're actually too long for this jar, they're going to get squished a little anyway. And while it may affect the prettiness of it, it won't affect the flavor in the slightest. So I'm just going to try to evenly get these distributed between the 2 jars. Throw asparagus all over. My highly requested video, folks, me dealing with asparagus tendrils like they're little octopi tentacles or something. I'm not making adult jokes. A little bit more in this jar. That'll be the last of that too. So I probably could have done one more bunch of asparagus in all of this, but that's why I'm also adding other goodies. So let's get this plate out of the way. And I'm going to shut the heat off on that and let it cool. Just enough. Divvy up the garlic. The great thing about this recipe is that it is a lot lower sodium than what you're going to find in the store, especially for any pickled asparagus, and That stuff is expensive in the store. Let's divvy up the lemon too. I might not get all this onion in here. What I don't get in, I'll just have to use for cooking. You're basically going to want these jars stuffed. Because you're going to want, and you're going to want to take, once you get this mixture in, I kind of shove everything down because you want everything to be immersed in the liquid. So you don't want a whole lot of air pockets. I'm kind of squishing it down now. There's a lot of pickled onion in here, but I don't care. That's fine. Okay, I'm gonna have gloves on when I squish this down too, because my hands are very sensitive to vinegar and salt. Okay, so then I need to add 1 teaspoon of dried dill per jar. You can do fresh sprigs. Of course, it's a little early in the year yet for that, and I'm not paying supermarket prices for them. This is organic, great value dill weed. I don't care about organic. I will buy it if it's on sale, because it is kind of a sales gimmick. So, yeah. All it ends up doing is costing you more money unless it's really on sale. And sometimes you can find like organic fruit and stuff a lot cheaper than regular price. So, you know, I'll buy it then. I don't mind. Okay, so it's saying 1 teaspoon of whole mustard seeds. This is where I come in with the pickling stuff instead. And I do 1 teaspoon of that. Because there are mustard seeds in here, a little bit more than a teaspoon. There's also pepper, there's bay leaf, what else have they got in here? Cinnamon, allspice, mustard seed, coriander, bay leaves, ginger, chilies, cloves, black pepper, mace, cardamom, and it's got sulfiting agents. Nothing I'm allergic to, thankfully. And this recipe also says to add chilies, but they're already in the pickling spice. So hey, we don't have to do that. Let's see, is there anything else? I got the dill, I got the lemon, I got everything else in there. Now is the time. Let me don some gloves. I suppose I got that a little hot. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wait a little bit, and then I'll be back and we'll pour it in and we'll seal these jars up. Hi guys, I'm back. In the time this cooled, I managed to get the lawn mowed, the asparagus planted, edible flowers from Germany planted, talked to the neighbor, petted Pomeranians. Yeah, it was a good evening. So, and I did some weeding too. So now we're just going to take the concoction here. This was in the pot, except I don't have a funnel, so I had to transfer it to this. And we're just gonna pour what we can in the jars. If there's not enough, I have more of that reverse osmosis filtered water to finish off these jars. So I'm just gonna try to make sure that I have an equal amount in both jars. Now, if you remember, this was the apple cider vinegar, water, and the salt and sugar in this part of the mixture. There's a little bit of the mother in there, that's fine. In just a minute, I'm gonna pour this again over the sink, of course. And my pot from blanching asparagus is fairly clean, so I'll just use that for potatoes tomorrow. I have to work tonight yet. All right. Now, since we're not fermenting, this going almost all the way to the top is not a big deal. If this was something we'd ferment, we'd want to have about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. But in this case, we want to have enough to be able to cover everything. And it looks like I actually had a little too much. Part of the problem was that I just put in the rest of the apple cider vinegar that I had because there was very little left in the container. And it was just a little too much. So I'm going to don my gloves here. And just make sure. Now with refrigerator pickles, to me it doesn't matter if it's not completely immersed. The very tip tops are not. They're not going to last long enough, eating wise. Teensy bit more. Okay. Well, shoot, I'm not happy that I didn't get to use the rest of that, but it should still turn out just fine. That will make the magic happen. Just kind of shake everything up. These are just reused lids too, because I have like my cereal for work. If I have oatmeal and stuff, I just have it in glass ball jars and reuse the lids for that. Canning, we of course use new lids so they could seal. But again, this is going in the fridge, doesn't matter. So there you go. You pop it in the fridge, 3 days, they're ready to chew on. 3 weeks, they'll be the best. And they'll keep for a few months, but I don't think they're gonna last that long once you taste these. Look at how pretty that looks. And I haven't tried eating the lemon itself pickled. I don't know. I know people will do that. I'm gonna have to give it a taste at some point. But yeah, the onions and the garlic definitely will be edible. And this is going to have a really, really nice flavor to it. And of course, we got them all standing up, and you can see the grape leaves in there. And a little more lemon. So lemons came out perfect on the side. So that's it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night. Oh, and by the way, Amber, in case anybody refers this to you and you watch it, following a recipe is not that hard. Learning to cook is not going to kill you, and you're going to find your world opens up to all new possibilities, including eating a lot healthier if you're doing your own meals and your own prep without all the, you know, highly processed stuff with preservatives and all the sodium you've been taking in. As you saw, there was not a lot of salt in this. So there you go, everyone. There's the pickle recipe. Blessed be everybody. Have a great night.